G'day ladies and gentlemen, hope you're well. To all the new people at the Grammy Co, the new people that have come into our Discord, the new people that have come on to this newsletter, welcome. It's lovely to have you here, and these come out each week for you guys. Also go ahead and check out the Grammy Co YouTube page where you can subscribe there for more content that comes out. The best place to be though is the Discord group, and you'll see at the bottom of this email some of the trades from the week just past, or recent trades anyway. Anyway, let's now get stuck into what the market's doing, because it's been a pretty, it's been a wild bloody week, hasn't it? It's been a wild week since we last spoke. Just to recap, where I was this time last week, going back to Monday here. I did the video, Tuesday. What we were seeing at that stage was, if I go to the weekly, what you'll see is this. We now have a high, a lower low. However, at the time, we'd just broken the low of this weekly candle, and therefore it opened the door for us to have a potential higher low if we were to take out the high of that candle, which is 88,740. If we took out that high, we would have a higher low, which was just about here, then a higher high on our weekly time frame, which would have been just brilliant, because the monthly is currently in an uptrend. And again, just to simplify that, the definition of an uptrend is a series of higher highs and higher lows. If you haven't done the course, you will, that might be something that is new to you. And if that is the case, there you go. A higher low here, a higher high here. And what we're in the process of right now, I believe, is working out whereabouts our next higher low is going to be. And we'll talk about this level in just a moment. But just to double back, what we did not get was that uptrend. We got very, very close, and I'll show it to you. It was this candle here. All we had to do was break up through this high here, which was 88,740. We got to 88,560, so less than $200, and we would have had ourselves in a weekly uptrend. It would have obviously been reversed anyway, but have a look at what actually occurred, because I remember getting up in the morning. It was about 7 o'clock or 6:30 or something like that. Here it was here. Getting up and going, oh wow, Bitcoin's moved really well. We were pushing up here, and at the time it was something around here. And then, of course, boom, 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 Trump came out with his tariff update or plan or whatever the announcement was. It was around the tariffs, and of course that sent shockwaves not just through Bitcoin, but through global financial markets. Of course, we saw Bitcoin retrace heavily from there. As a matter of fact, over the space of those just 3 hours from that open, we did lose 5%. It was actually about 7% if you're taking from that high. It was a very, very large move over a very, very short span of time. And then what we saw with Bitcoin was something kind of strange, to be honest. Bitcoin just held and held and held. And I say held because what I want to show you now is the S&P 500. I'll show you the ES, which is the S&P 500 mini futures contract. It was the contract I used to trade a lot back when I would be in equities. Ceased doing that. Geez, that takes me back over a decade. But anyway, what we saw was this big gap. We saw a fall. We saw another huge fall. So have a look, just look at the dates here. The 4th of April, the S&P 500 was down let's call it 6%, okay? The 6%. The interesting thing that I found was on the 4th of April, for Bitcoin, we closed up 0.83%. And I actually posted on Facebook and said, wow, and X, I'm like, it's holding up pretty well right now. It's kind of strange. It was, because what we've seen with Bitcoin more and more is that it has become a global financial instrument, and therefore the financial or the economic news and items that come out has affected Bitcoin and the wider crypto community for quite some time now, as it has become more widely used, widely invested in, and better understood. We're seeing a lot more normal, legacy market economic data affect the price, but it didn't. Then, of course, the weekend, and the S&P shut over the weekend, of course, lazy buggers. Bitcoin doesn't, and we saw a very hefty amount of selling come in. That 6% move came in on Sunday, and then we saw further slides, which brings us to today. Now, yesterday we see Bitcoin down, the selling continued. I did a video for Discord looking at shorts. Now, I had to jump on an aeroplane. I did not get to take any of those positions that were there. I do note that I believe some of those did trigger and would have done quite well. Of course, when we're looking at markets, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to what I do, if you're new to how I guess make a craft, it doesn't really matter if the market goes up or down. As a trader, our objective is, and it's a beautiful thing because we don't need to be emotional about a falling market. We don't need to be emotional about a rising market either. We just jump in, jump out, do our thing. We trade. All we need is movement. The most boring thing is nothing and it goes sideways. So for the time being, we've got some momentum. We've had some trades. We've had some profits. We've had some opportunity, and that is really, really nice. Now, we saw yesterday Bitcoin was down at one stage 5%. And the we saw Bitcoin was 9% back up, closing up. Let's call it 1%. A lot of the buying that came in at one stage, not just on Bitcoin, but on the S&P 500 and global financial markets, was based off of a rumor. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, fake news. Fake news that the tariffs were going to be eased, pumped about $3 trillion back into the S&P 500 or global markets. I can't remember if it was the S&P 500 or global markets, but $3 trillion. I can remember when $3 trillion was a total amount of money in foreign exchange that was traded each day. Anyway, it was not true. It was fake news, as they say, and Bitcoin did take the bounce, and it did hold. The S&P 500 did something very similar, but it continued on its downward trajectory yesterday. It did slip down. Yes, it looks like it's up, but don't forget, it gapped down. Again, a very, very volatile session on S&P 500 as well as on Bitcoin. So where does it leave us? Bottom line is this: we've got a lower low. These are daytime. For the 4 hour here, what you're going to see is an awful lot of volatility. Now, this is the sort of thing I'm looking for trading opportunities, but I see the volatility can just ease up a little bit for something like the 4 hour or the 8 hour. I'll come back to this at the end and wrap it up as far as what my plan is for Bitcoin. And my plan of attack. But a lot of this comes back down to this monthly chart. I bring you back to the monthly chart. I bring you back to the macro picture. I give you the monthly uptrend. It is in a very good uptrend. I've been talking about this pullback back into this 74,000 range. Why? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, it is old resistance level. We struggled. It was 72, 72, 72, 72. We couldn't get through it until Trump got elected, and we pushed up through it with gusto, smashing on our way up to 100,000 plus. Now, we've had a pullback back to that level. A couple of things. Again, if you are new to the way that I read markets and trade, I look at these averages. Now, I've got the 10 period and the 20 period. It can be the EMA or the SMA, that is exponential moving average or simple moving average. It does not matter. I trade in these areas. It's the basis for one of my trading strategies, in fact. Now, what you'll see is, what you'll also see is the size of that pullback. Now, for in a bull market, you will note that it is quite common to get 30 to 40% pullbacks in Bitcoin as a retracement in a strong market. Well, we are in a trend. I won't say a strong market just yet, but it is a strong trend. It's the cradle zone that I've been speaking of for a long time. It has also come back on that 30-odd percent pullback, which is quite normal. It is back in the cradle zone on the MACD. All these are positives, by the way. Very, very positive. The also overlay here is the fib. We go. You got a 61.8% fib, not exactly laid in, but it's clustered. Now, when I trade, I look for a confluence of events. Now, I am in the market with all of my capital. Right, my capital allocation is 100% in the market. I was buying back in August of 2023. So I'm sweet, okay? I'm not looking to buy more because I just don't have the cash on the side right now. My money is at work currently. What I will be doing, however, is taking my trading profits and putting it into buying into Bitcoin again. And the reason I'm saying I would be buying, and I will be buying when I convert those profits, is because now your job as a trader is not to be able to pick the exact bottom or sell the exact top. You're looking for that chunk in the middle. What I'm looking at here is good lower, absolutely, but I see this very, very good buy zone for Bitcoin now on that monthly. It's going to take some time for our weekly to set itself an uptrend. And close to the 74,000 region, the low there, 74,456. Let's call it hit. It'd be interesting to see what comes of this. I think we're going to see a few days of some, or maybe even a few weeks, of some very strong, what am I trying to say? Volatility. I think we'll see a lot of volatility. What Trump's done with these tariffs has sent shockwaves around the world. It's literally like ripping a Band-Aid off, but it feels like you've ripped the Band-Aid off 3 days early. You know what I mean? Like, it's a bit messy. And we're going to have to wait and see what markets do. I want to now move to Ethereum, because that was a big dive into Bitcoin right then. I want to look at Ethereum because Ethereum is a very, very sad case. This is now our 6.34. This is our 5th month of selling in a row. for Ethereum. The month of March down 18%, currently down 13.5% on Ethereum. I find it very strange with Ethereum. There's been very little, and correct me if I'm wrong, email me, hit me up on Facebook, wherever you find me, tell me, am I missing something here? There used to be a lot of talk about Ethereum, about what they're doing, what the upgrades are. Here's an upgrade, here's this. There doesn't seem to be a great deal of chatter going on around Ethereum. Again, I may be wrong here. I may just be focusing on the charts as opposed to the fundamental information, but please, if I have missed that, let me know. But in the monthly, it looks terrible. On the weekly, it is, well, I say terrible, it's a great one for shorting, I've got to be honest. It is a great trend, and again this week, look at this, looking at and reading charts, level support here, and look what happens when that support goes. Support, bang, we see a 12.5% move lower. In fact, from that level of support, the low that we saw, let's call it 20%. Ethereum in trouble. I will say one thing though, I am more than happy to short this puppy right now. What I am waiting for, again, pull back in zone, a small bearish candle. If you've got the strategy, you know exactly what to do with your checklist. Ethereum, I am stalking a short. Next up is Binance. It's just taking $500 up to 70. It is holding pretty well, to be fair. Cardano has had a very strong run up and a very deep pullback. Monthly not telling me too much, the weekly telling me even less, and the daily showing, well, what's going to show? Yep, a daily downtrend. It's a short for me at the moment. On the 12 hour, the 8 hour, whatever time frame provides me an opportunity where I will be able to follow my rules of the cradle trades that I'm stalking. Next up is Doge. Again, very short. As you can see, there's a bit of a theme coming here. Solana in the sort of boat here. If we look at this now, we can have a look at the cyclicity is there. If you don't know what that means, you'll learn it if you decide to learn through me. But really nice cyclicity there. Again, XR, it's patience that is required. For a lot of these markets, doing nothing. Link, it's approaching the right zone. I'm waiting now for that opportunity to short. Now, I could be wrong, but that's okay because I'll manage my risk. And if I take a loss, I'll take a loss. It's no big deal, right? Because we manage our risk, we know what we're doing, we trade with precision, we use our strategies, and we come out with our edge exercise. Now that's our top 10 that I've just ripped through right now, all of which are looking, not all, but many of which are looking for, I'm looking for shorts. Bitcoin's dominance. Well, this chart continues to look at high jump. As you can see, with a couple of very strong days of Bitcoin's dominance as we approach 64%. Now, I've spoken to this many, many times. We tend to get in a bull market 72% Bitcoin dominance before the alts really start to rip in. We are on our way to that. A very strong, it has to be said, a very, very good trend there indeed. Looking similar to Bitcoin, except for it has still here. The alts have dragged it down a little bit further, but it is still in a monthly uptrend. Onto US. We've got a ripping high. I can't because it's not tradable. If there's someone to trade it, sweet, let me know. But yeah, when US dollar tether starts to run higher, we tend to see markets getting a little bit lower. Now, again, I'll flip back now. My stance on point is this. I believe we'll see some extreme potentially throughout the week. Why? We've tested it once. We've bounced from that level. We've bounced a good, 6.5% from that point right there. If the selling, if we do see this market, press a bearish candle or just start to decline once more, if we can take out 74,000, I think we will see potentially one of Bitcoin's more active days. Why do I say that? Well, I've been in this market since 2017. I've seen a lot of big spikes, the COVID spike. We have events sometimes where Bitcoin in a single day can do 20 or 30%, but it doesn't last long. It tends to be a spike. If you're an investor and you're looking for positions, well, one of the things that I would be suggesting would be layering. What does that mean? Well, maybe you want to buy some now, orders down around here, set some orders at 74, but possibly even just go and throw in an order at 50. You never know your luck in the big city. So that's a bit of a wrap up of what I'm seeing in the market from the S&P across the Bitcoin, Ethereum, the top $10 USDT dominance, Bitcoin's dominance, and the total market cap. I hope you've enjoyed this newsletter, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you in the Discord, thank you for being legends. It's been an interesting week for us, and a lot more trading to come this week. And yeah, for everybody else, if you do want to join us in the Discord group, you just learn the course. No one's allowed into that Discord unless they have gone through the training, because look, ultimately I want people in there that are going to be able to help each other, leg each other up, answer each other's questions, and be trading in a similar way. Anyway, have a great day. I'll hope this finds you well. Share this with your friends and family if it's something that you think that they would be interested in. Keep it cool, guys. This is all part of the process. It's just a market, and if you're feeling a bit of pain, probably best to walk away and just have a chat to somebody, because it's just money and the market's good. Just depends on your perspective. Take care, guys. I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Bye for now.